All right, hi guys. There I am. All right, so we're going to review some things that we've covered so far, and I like to stop and review every once in a while just so we can make sure that we're not pushing too forward ahead without really making sure that everything we've covered is just been really, really set in stone. So I'm going to start off with a place value chart. So here I have my ones, my tens, my hundreds, thousands, 10,000s, 100,000s, and millions. And if you notice, these right here, the 1, 10s, and 100s, these are our units. They're one family. The thousands are another family. Notice how they all have thousands. And then this stops here, but if you notice, everything is the group of one. Like here's 1,000, here's the ones, here's 1 million. And then after it is your tens. So then after the 1,000, you would have 10,000. And then the next one is your hundred. So 100 here, 100,000, we'd have 100 million, 100 billion, and so on. So we can put, let me put a number in here. Alrighty. So this would be red. We can add our commas to help us read. So 1, 2, 3, comma, 1, 2, 3, comma, and this would be red 6. We're going to stop at the comma. 6,597,876. So notice I say the number. And once I get to that comma, the comma makes you pause, and you need to pause and look up at the family. So 6,597,000, there's my comma, look up, 1,876. And notice there's no comma here at the end, so we don't need to, you don't say a family name for your units. All right. Then we learned that each one of these has a value. So when we talk about 10, the tens place, and we see a 7 there, that means that it is 7 groups of 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's 7 groups of 10. So we write that as 7 times 10. There's the 7. Right here, 7. And each one of these, because it's the 10, it's in the tens place, so 10. So that's 7 groups of 10. Okay. 6 would be 6 groups of a million. So 6 times a million. 5 times 100,000. 9 times 10,000. 7 times 1,000. Again, if I put up all the thousands, these are 10,000. So these are 10,000s. So here, this one needs 9 of them. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. All right. So you can look at this and you can say, okay, wow, that's really not just a 9. That's going to be 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, 40,000, 50,000, 60,000, 70,000, 80,000, 90,000. So 9 times 10,000 actually has a value of 90,000. So when we write out all of these, how many groups there are in each one, this is called expanded notation. We put parentheses around them. So this would be 6 times a million. Million has 6 zeros that follow. This would be, I'm going to run out of room, but this would be 5 times 100,000, so 100,000. This would be 7 times 1,000, because it's in the thousands place. 8 times 100. 7 times 10, and 6 times 1. And when we write all these out, we put plus signs after them, because if we added all of this up, we did the multiplication, and then we added all of them up, we would get back to 6,597,876. That would equal that to our number here in standard form, okay? So because a digit is in a certain spot, it has a certain value. If we have a 7 in the tens, that value is only 70. But if we have a value of 7 in the thousands, that's 7, the value is 7,000. So because of a number is in a certain location, it means a certain thing. So we have to be very, very careful of that, okay? All right, let me pause right there. All right, the next thing we're going to look at is ways that we can write our numbers. So we have standard form, we have word form, expanded form, and expanded notation. All right, so we have 4 different ways that we've learned how to write a number. So I'm just going to do a number in the thousands. So let's say I have 7,462. If I write it just the standard way, the way we're used to seeing numbers, that is how it looks. It's just the numbers. If I write it in word form, again, I'm going to look at the number that's in that family, so 7. So I'm going to write 7. And then I see the comma, so I'm going to stop and I'm going to look at what place that is. I know it's in the thousands, so that would be 7,000. Oh my gosh, my dogs are so loud. All right, so 7,000. And then the last part right here, 462. Oh goodness. Stella, are you okay over there? 462. All right. And again, the way that you say it, that's how you write it. So 7,462. All right, expanded form is where I'm going to put each of those numbers into its actual value. So the 7, I know it's not a 7, it's actually 7,000. Plus the 4 is not a 4, it's in the hundreds place. 400 plus 60 plus 2. And I can go and I can mark an underline. So 7,000, 7,000. 400, 400. 6 tens will be 60. And 2 ones, 2 ones. So I can kind of go back and make sure, because when our numbers get really, really big, you want to make sure that you keep track of them, okay? All right, expanded notation, we kind of looked at that before. So we take the very first digit. So the first digit I see on the left, we always start at the left, is the 7 here. And I'm thinking, how many groups of there in that thousand, how many groups of thousands, since this is the thousands place, how many groups of 1,000 are there? So there's 7 of them because there's a 7. So 7 groups of 1,000 plus next number 4 times 4 groups of 100. So I want you to picture these little things like I had up. When I say 4 groups of something, I want you thinking, okay, there's 4 of these hundreds. There's 4 groups. So 4 times 100 plus, keep moving. Again, you can do your underlining to keep track of where you are. The next digit is 6. And it's in the tens place, so times 10. Notice the place always goes at the end. Thousands place, hundreds place, tens place. Next digit, we did the 6, next digit is the 2, so plus 2 times 1. Okay, so you have standard form, word form, expanded notation. You need to know all 4 of these forms. All right, we're going to pause there. All right, the next thing we're going to look is at how we compare numbers. So I'm going to put some numbers in my place value chart. Here I have ones, tens, hundreds, thousand, 10,000, 100,000. All right, so I have 2 numbers. I'm going to stack them in their place value chart because it makes it really easy to compare them. So when we compare something, we need to start with our greatest value. Greatest values are all the way to the left side of your place value chart because we know 100,000 is much larger than a 10,000, is much larger than 1,000, is much larger than 100, and so on. So as you move to the left, you get way, way bigger, okay? So here I see that the 100,000, they both have 3s. So I can't stop and compare those. Next, we have 2s. Nope. Next, we have 1s. Nope. Here, I see I have a 0 and a 2. These are different, so I can compare these. So I'm going to think about a 0 and a 2, and I know that 2 is much greater, so that means that 0 is less than 2. Okay, and let's review our symbols. Less than, greater than, equal. Wherever the 2 dots are, that 2 dots is pointing to your bigger number. So notice how the 2 dots are pointing to the 2. Okay, so less than, greater than, equal. So I can say that because this 0 is smaller, I know that, let's see, put my commas there, 321,045 is less than 321,299. So again, the 2 dots are pointing towards my larger number, and I know it's larger because again, 3 and 3, 2 and 2, 1 and 1, 0 and a 2. 0 is less than 2. Okay, I'm going to pause there. All right, in this next section, we're going to learn how to order numbers. So here I have 3 numbers. I put them into my place value chart. Again, I have ones, tens, hundred, thousands, 10,000s, and 100,000s. So here we're going to look at these 3 numbers and we're going to put them in order from greatest to least. And this is the most important thing that you pay attention to right here because it tells you how they want you to put it. If you start with the smallest one first, you already have your problem wrong. So make sure that you're paying attention to what it is actually asking you and make sure that you keep referring back to that as you go to make sure you're doing the right order. So again, this is like comparing, but with just more numbers. So again, I'm going to use my place value chart as my strategy because I can put my numbers on there and I can see how they line up and how I can compare them. So here, right away, I see that numbers are different, okay? But I want the greatest first. So this one is going to be my greatest number. This is going to be my second greatest number. And this one's going to be my smallest number. So right away, I see a 5, a 1, and a 5. So this 1 is a lot smaller than the 5s. So I'm going to go ahead and put it down as my, oops, I didn't make any 1s. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to go ahead and put it down as my smallest number. Okay, so I'm going to cross it out because I know I'm done with it. I've got a 5 and a 5. I can't compare. A 6 and a 6. I can't compare. A 4 and a 5. Those are different. So because they're different, I can stop and compare. I know that 4 is less than 5. So that means this is smaller and this number is greater because it has a whole extra 1,000. So it doesn't matter about any of these other numbers because this has a whole extra 1,000, it's automatically going to be the greatest. So remember, I'm going back to this. I want my greatest number first. So I'm going to put 565,999. 983 first. I used it, so I'm going to cross it out. And then I'm going to put 564, so 564,321 in the middle. So again, you can check 5 and 5 is much bigger than the 1, so this is definitely going to be the smallest. And 5, 5, 6, 6, 5, 4. 5 is greater than 4, so this is my greatest. All right, guys, let's pause there. All right, the next thing we're going to go over is rounding. And we're going to start with rounding. And we're going to do it a couple ways. So we're going to round to the nearest tens. And we're going to do rounding with the nearest hundreds. So the process on both of these is the same. The only difference is the place that we're looking at. So if we're rounding to the nearest tens, we're looking at the tens place. If we're rounding to the nearest hundreds, we're looking at the hundreds place. So I'm going to show you two ways, one with a number line and one just using the number and a poem. So on your number line, you're going to make 3 lines. One is going to be in the middle and 2 on the outside. So let's take the number 146. Okay. So 146, if I'm rounding to the nearest tens, I'm going to look at the digit in the tens place, and I see that it's a 4. Well, we just learned that it's not just a 4, it actually has a value of 40. And we're not just in the 40s, we're in the 140s, so 140. When I go to the next 10, I would be at 150. So 146 is going to be somewhere between 140 and 150. I know that this midway point would be 145. So 146 would be right after 146. So 146 is much closer to this 10 than it is. This is a much farther jump. So we put the midpoint there so you can see that if it's on this side, it's going to go and be rounded to this number on the right. If it's on this side, then it's going to be rounded to this number on the left. So 146 rounds to 150. That's using a number line. Now we're going to look at 146 and we're going to use the poem that we learned in class. So find a number in its spot. There's my number. I know it's my number because I'm in the tens. This is the ones, tens, and hundreds. So if it says tens, I find the tens. So find the number in its spot, go next door and see what you've got. We always go to the right, and I see that it's a 6. If you have 5 or more, you're going to raise the score. 4 or less, let it rest. So 6 belongs here. It's more than 5. So we're going to raise the score, meaning we're going to take this number 4 and we're going to raise it. Okay, nothing happens over here because we only care about the tens. Now we're raising it, so you're going to count 1, you're just going to add 1 additional. So after 4 is 5. Okay. All the numbers to the right, so everything to the right of my box is going to run to 0 in a fright. So let me say it one more time. So here's my answer. Notice I got the same no matter which strategy I use. So find a number in its spot, go next door, see what you've got. 5 or more, raise the score. 4 or less, let it rest. All the numbers to the right run to 0 in a fright. So because the 6 is larger, it's going to push us into this side. So we have to jump to the next group of 10, which would be 150. All right, let's take our same number, 146, and let's this time round it to the nearest hundreds. So here we were looking at the digit in the tens place. Here we're going to look at the digit in the hundreds place. Same thing if I round to the nearest 1,000, I'm going to look to the thousands place. If I round to the nearest 10,000, I'm going to go and I'm going to look at the number, look at that digit that's in the 10,000th place. So here on the number line, I see my 1, it's not a 1, it's a 100. And my next 100 that this is going to be in between would be 200. Midway would be 150. Okay. Now 146 is in between these two right here. So again, you're looking, are we going to be rounding here or here? And I can see that since it's on this side of the number line, we're going to be rounding to the nearest 100. If I jump, this is a much bigger jump. I have to jump over the line, so that's too far. So we're going to round to 100. So this right here rounds to the nearest 100 would be 100. 100 would be my answer. All right, let's see it with just the poem. Find a number in its spot. Go next door, see what you've got. 5 or more, raise the score. 4 or less, let it rest. All the numbers to the right run to 0 in a fright. So next door I have a 4. 4 is a 4 or less, so we're going to let it rest. And remember, we said when we let something rest, like if mom says I need to rest, dad says I need to go and I need to take a rest, you leave them alone. You don't go bother them, right? So we're going to leave this alone. We're not going to bother it. We're not going to change it like we did here. We're going to leave it alone. So the 1 gets left alone, and all the other numbers to the right, so everything to the right, the 4 and the 6, run to 0 in a fright. So there's our 100 again. All right. All right, guys, so that has been everything that we have covered so far. So learning how to represent a number, learning how all about the values of each digit. We learned how to round them. We learned how to compare them. We learned how to order them. So the next thing we're going to do is jump into addition and subtraction. And we're going to be working with some word problems. And we'll start with that. So we have just a couple more things and we'll already be done with our first unit. So good job reviewing and make up some of your own problems, and you can practice some of the same things like I did on your whiteboard. All right, thanks guys for watching.